This was the first song that ever gave me goosebumps. The first song that I could never stop playing. And the first song where I imagined myself playing in front of thousands of people. Is it easy? Well, that all depends on your skill level. But who cares? You're here to learn and to enjoy your journey. Hey, I'm Harry, a drum teacher from the UK, and we've not met before. Welcome. Today I'm breaking down the song Are We the Waiting by Green Day. Let's drum. And now I'm going to debrief you about what the lesson will entail. What I'm going to show you is the groove within the song Are We the Waiting by Green Day. By the end of the lesson, my mission is to share with you the knowledge for you to be able to practice the song and play it too. I'll also go over potential problems you may encounter along the way and ways to overcome them. To get started, let me play the groove that you'll learn. The way I'll teach you is by breaking down the groove into manageable chunks. So if you get stuck along the way, you can always pick it up from where you left off. Let's begin by learning and developing the groove. I'll show you this groove in 3 layers. Layer 1 is understanding the rhythm. So first we're going to learn how to count the 2-bar pattern. Counting is super essential to help you to really solidify your learning. The counting is this: 1, 2 and 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. This is a 2-bar rhythm, and the rhythm is essentially the same twice. The only difference is that there's an extra offbeat in the second bar. So here's the first bar again: 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Here's the second bar: 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. So you've got that extra offbeat at the end, which will be a 4. There's a few things you need to understand first before we have a go at kicking and clapping the rhythm. The first thing you need to know is that beat 1 will always be a kick. The second thing is that the tom pattern is always going to be on the offbeats. The offbeats in this case are always going to be on the word and. And to recap, the second bar starts off the same as bar 1, except you have an extra offbeat on the and of 4. So here's bar 1, nice and slowly. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Again, 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4. Pretty simple. The second bar is this: 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Again, 3, 4. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Feel free to rewind and go over those again. I do repeat each one twice. That should be enough times to be able to rewind and go through it to just make sure you understand how to count that. Now I'm going to combine those two together. 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now that you can count and clap or click the rhythm away from the drum kit, now it's time for you to move on to layer 2, which is being able to play the rhythm on the drums. What you can do now is say and play the rhythm. We already did this in the kicking and the clapping, but now you can actually do this on the drum kit. The structure is this: you're going to loop bar 1, which is the 1, 2 and 3 and 4. You're going to loop that once with 1 bar of rest. And you'll do that for a total of 4 times. So now you've done that, you should have understood which drums you're playing. The drums you're playing, to be sure that you know it, is the snare drum and the high tom in this first part of this 2-bar pattern. Now you're going to loop bar 2. Again, it's the same structure. You're going to play it once, and then you're going to rest for 4 beats. And then you'll do that for 4 times. Again, this is a chance for you to understand what to play in this section. Great. Now you should know that you start off with the kick, followed by the snare drum, to the middle tom, and then add a floor tom. The extra floor tom, which is the extra offbeat on the and of 4. So make sure you rewind and go through those sections again. Really make sure that you know each section really well. And now is the chance for you to combine bar 1 and bar 2 together. You will have already done this in the kick and the clapping because it's more accessible. Now it's going to be a little bit harder because there's a few more variables when you're actually going to be playing the drums. What you're going to do is a similar structure. You'll play bar 1 and 2 together with no gaps, and then you'll rest for 1 bar again, which is 4 beats. So you're not going to loop it just yet. Now it's time for you to move on to layer 3, provided that you have completed layer 2, and of course layer 1. To know whether you've completed layer 2, you should be able to combine bar 1 and bar 2 together, or in other words, be able to play the full pattern. Ideally, you need to be able to do this 2 times at minimum. In other words, play the full pattern once, rest for 4 beats, and then do it again. Layer 3 is all about looping a rhythm. So it's really important now that you're able to play the rhythm in full twice without any gaps. So that's why it's really important that you are able to play the rhythm with 1 gap, because then it's a little bit easier to stitch it together. Assuming that you're now able to loop the full pattern 2 times, it's now your job to be able to loop the pattern 4 times. So essentially, you're playing it for 8 bars now. If you've just been able to repeat this full pattern at a minimum of 2 times, you can officially move on to the challenge. Your challenge now is to be able to play a quarter note pulse with the hi-hat. In other words, your left foot is now going to be playing as well. This sort of exercise is going to help you realize the very importance of the counting that you did at the very beginning. If you've got the counting really underneath your belt and you feel like you've got a real strong capability to be able to count and play at the same time, this section should be relatively easy for you. Because now all you have to do is just do exactly the same thing with the counting, but just put more of an emphasis on the downbeats. You can start off by putting an emphasis on the counting. So here's the example, and feel free to join in. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and... Do you notice how I was putting emphasis on the 1, 2, and 3, and 4s? This is going to help you to really grapple adding the left foot. And also just to help you be more aware of any errors you make along the way. Here's a pro tip. Take it slower to begin with. because what you're doing is you're adding new information. So taking it slower means that you're able to process that new information with more clarity. In other words, you can really understand everything that's going into your brain and digest that in a manageable way. So if you practice this and give yourself enough time, you will get there eventually. And if you get there after this video, nice one. So you've been through the highs, you've been through the lows. Now it's time for me to share with you two of the main problems that most of my students have faced when they've ever learnt this song. The first main challenge that I see my students face is the fact that they find it harder to be able to loop the pattern from the end to the beginning. Usually what I hear is that the floor tom and the kick will often overlap or clash in some sort of way, which creates this sort of rolling or tipping over effects. The solution is to isolate this little section. So first of all, I'd get students to play the floor tom followed by the kick. So I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Just to literally do that little section so that you can create a clear distinction between the floor tom and the kick. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. Once you get that, I get them to start from the second half of the pattern. So I go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. And they would stop on that beat 1 and wouldn't start again. Literally just isolating that little section. So there's two ways to go about it. Just to recap, you'd isolate literally the movement of the floor tom to the kick and 1. And then you'd go back to the second half of the bar. You go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and boom. And that would be the start of the thing. And then after that, the third thing to do would be to carry on. So you'd go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and then you'd be able to carry on the groove then. So essentially you're starting towards the end of the full pattern, so you don't have to take in all the information of everything they had to do at the very, very beginning. The second problem is that they have trouble keeping the pulse in their hi-hat, which basically means that the left foot isn't staying consistent. The second challenge is that the left foot pulse does not stay consistent. The first step of this solution is to just play it slow to begin with. Playing it slow just helps you to see everything a lot clearer. So I'd first of all play at a slower pace, but not so slow that it sounds very blocky. It still needs to have some sense of momentum so you can hear the whole groove. The second step of the solution is to identify the technique that you're using. Most of the time, students, I find, have their left foot in a raised position. In other words, the heel is off the ground like all the time. So basically, the calf and their whole leg just gets tired too quickly. If my students are at the very beginning stages, then I'd make sure that their left foot is just resting on the hi-hat. I wouldn't have their left foot up because that's a different technique that you're having to use. And I just want them to be able to get to play, first of all. So I would have a heel down approach. The third step I would get my students to do is to apply this heel down technique. What they're going to be doing now is to make sure that this movement is as efficient as possible. To make it efficient, I usually tell them to move the foot the least amount possible in order to get that hi-hat to open. Usually what I see students do, they'll have their foot here and they'll like raise it up all, all the way back. But I say to them, you can actually just do this. Yeah, you can actually just raise it like a couple of centimeters. Obviously depends on what you're playing, and some drum kits are a little bit different, but most of the time you're going to have to move your foot very, very small amount. And this makes it very efficient, makes it very easy, and it just eliminates anything else that's causing problems. The takeaway of today's lesson is to never underestimate the power of practicing away from the drum kit. This approach just allows you to be able to get onto a deeper level of understanding for the pattern is that you want to be able to learn. Usually when I'm tackling something that I've not played before, I would tap out the rhythm on my lap or on a practice pad before, so I can really internalize the rhythms and make sure that I've got everything mapped out before I actually play on the drums. This approach just allows you to get a little bit deeper into learning the pattern, whether that's on the pads or wherever you're learning it, so you can feel really comfortable and confident with what it is that you're about to try to do on the drums. What I also do is help you to be able to transition onto the drum kit. Usually what I find is that people who are learning something new on the drums themselves might actually be distracting. You've got all these different sounds and it's just, you've got a lot of washy sounds and it's just putting the person off. So by eliminating any sort of distraction, this method will allow you to focus on the learning, because what you're hearing is just the raw, defined sound, and everyone's just you tapping your lap, the pad, or your turned off electronic drum kit or practice drum kit, whatever it is that you're deciding to learn on. So if you're learning something new, have a go tapping it out on your leg, practicing on your practice pad or your practice drum kit, and see how it goes. So next time you practice something new, feel free to have a go at practicing on your lap or on a practice drum kit or something similar, and see if it makes a difference to your learning or practice routine overall. If you enjoyed this video and want to do more for the channel, you can support my channel by purchasing the Fundamentals of Drumming course, made to give you a kickstart on the drums. Whether you're curious about drumming, starting a new hobby, or even bought your first drum kit, this course is designed to set you up with the foundations right from the beginning. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and keep drumming.